Hey boys and girls, it's Night Stalker here. Welcome along today to my Demesne Crossbowmen guide. Check it out. Now this unit has a very poor reputation, especially amongst all the veteran players and people who have tried to push through it. And it's actually a little bit undeserved. All right, and I'm going to show you why. These guys here can spit out nearly 600 bolts in 8 seconds, and they have a good armor penetration and damage of about 1600, one of each. So this unit actually can be useful, especially for its leadership of only 140. Let's go in and take a look at the inner workings of the Demesne Crossbowmen unit. Okay, so the Demesne Crossbowmen are very easy to get. You may ask yourself, why is he saying Demesne? This word here, D-E-M-E-S-N-E, is pronounced Demesne. Don't believe me? Go ahead and Google it. So the two nodes that the Demesne Crossbowmen get, by the way, if you just go to, press U, unit tree, second one down, which is ranged infantry, and here they are. They're going to get this cute little thing here that you must take before you even get to the Demesne Crossbowmen, so hip hip hooray. But the two nodes that they get are rate of fire, so you're going to get a total of 15% rate of fire, which is excellent when you have like 36 in a unit. And the other one you're going to get is the ammunition capacity of 5% of their base value. And this is really critical because these guys absolutely tear through ammunition. Like they just rip through ammo like nothing on earth. Their base value is 700. We'll talk about the upgrade soon. But when there's 36 of them, as you can imagine, that's every 2 seconds, that's 70 bolts. So they've got about 14 seconds of firing time, right? Assuming they're consistently firing and things like that. It can be upgraded, that's lucky, and you can put Doctrines on. Let's shoot over and look at that now. So here we are with their fabulous Demesne Crossbowmen. As you can see, they're 140 leadership up in the corner here. They get unit strength of 36 when they're fully upgraded to elite, and of course minor maximum. Now you might notice 5 purple Doctrines on my 2-star green unit. And why? Why, Knight, have you done this? Well, quite simply, I have too many. Beyond the Pavi's crossbows and the Rattan Marksman, what other crossbows are you really going to put these things on? The blue Arbalists, I'll do a video on them eventually, the main Arbalists, there's something about them that doesn't work, right? So they're not a great unit. These guys, I think, are better, would you believe? Argue with me in the comments if you like. But here we go. I've put all my 5 Doctrines on this particular unit. So when you see these in the training room in a minute, and also when I show you the gameplay clips, you'll just have to bear in mind that we've got increased shooting accuracy by 20%, we've got extra damage and armor pen, we've got an extra rate of fire, we've got the unit's double shot ability, which I'll show you in the training room, which means for 8 seconds every time they pull the trigger, they shoot 2 shots instead of 1. And that's fantastic, and you should put that on all of your crossbow units, except maybe your Rattan Marksman, because it works differently from them. And of course I've got the extra ammo. Now there are green and blue tier Doctrines that you could put on. The ones I would recommend for those are the piercing damage and the piercing armor penetration is an absolute must. If you've got the assassination doctrine or the breakthrough doctrine, which are the blue ones with the little helmet on them that do extra damage to heroes or units, those are very good too. But anytime you've got rate of fire increase, extra ammo, extra accuracy, this unit can absolutely benefit from those. Let's go across and look at their veterancy lines. Okay, here we are with the veterancy lines. Now, with the veterancy lines for the Demesne Crossbowmen, both are viable. And I've tried both, and both seem to be quite good. My preference is the bottom line because you get a better accuracy, but I find that a lot of the time that you're using this unit, you're shooting into big blobs of infantry and things like that, which I'll try and show you in some clips soon. So the accuracy is less important in that scenario, but they have such a short range that I really like my shots to hit, especially when you're trying to hit a hero or something like that. These guys will tear up light and medium armor heroes. Heavy armor heroes are an entirely different story. They don't have the armor penetration to do that. Anyway, veterancy lines. On the top veterancy line, this one here, you'll see the stats down the right hand side of everything that you will get when you are doing this line. So the top line, you're going to get a total of plus 10 armor penetration, 8% piercing damage, plus 20% to your ammunition capacity, plus 24% rate of fire, which is ridiculous, plus 4% critical hit chance, and an extra 4 soldiers in the unit. Flicking over now to the bottom line, You can see how the stats down the right hand side there have changed. These are the stats for the bottom line, one that I prefer to use. So you're going to get plus 5% armor penetration, you're going to get plus 20% accuracy, you're going to get an extra 6 soldiers in the unit, you're going to get plus 6% piercing damage, plus 10% damage in siege battles, which is also one of my favourite things about the bottom line, because I play pretty much only siege battles. If that's you, definitely go bottom line. You're going to get another 10% ammo, and you're also going to get 12% rate of fire. So the bottom line is quite a bit more balanced, but you get that extra bit of damage and that extra bit of accuracy, which is my preference for this unit. Let's move on now to the next segment. Okay, so let's take this unit in and see what they do. First formation I'm going to show you is the F2 formation. Now don't forget, this is a ranged unit, so you're not ever going to be using it as a frontline unit. So I'm going to use my hero here as kind of like a blocker to imitate a melee unit in front of the unit of crossbows. So here we go. Let's see what they do without using that number 2 ability. As you can see, reasonable damage, even on these training room mobs. It doesn't take them long to cut through the unit. Pew 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 pew. Dead. Alright, let's take a look at them now in the F3 formation, the block formation if you will. It's kind of bigger, more open, covers more ground. Makes them harder to kill with a hero, although obviously not impossible. Thankfully, we've got the same spear unit here. Let's see how they do. As you can see, when the bolts don't hit the shields of the unit, they tend to do quite a high level of damage. You'll notice, of course, at this point, the ammunition that I was telling you about earlier, they really don't have enough ammunition, and you will find yourself running backwards and forwards to the supply point and things like that. So, as we can see at this point, the 2 formations don't make any difference to the performance of the unit. And I can tell you that's the same for the open formation as well. Let's send them back, get them healed, and then we'll try again in the open formation. Alright, here's the open formation. Better for if you're being attacked by Scorpios or other siege equipment. Ranged heroes don't generally miss, so it's not going to be a huge advantage against them. But any melee units and things like that, or melee heroes, will take a lot longer to chop through the unit in this formation. Let's see how they do against these archers. Not terrible. What do you reckon? Should we try it against a melee unit? Of course, the open formation is best to take against a ranged unit, so that's why we're sort of doing it in this sort of order. See if we can get a melee unit. We can. And you'll quickly notice that the formation has no effect on the amount of output that they do. Shoot, 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 death, 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 death. The last thing I want to show you is how they perform when you're using that double shot ability. You know, most people won't have this, especially if you're new to the game. It is quite rare to get. Well, it's quite rare to get any of the purple doctrines, but that one in particular seems to be quite hard. So let's bring the unit up nice and close. Well, closer. And see how they perform against these happy little sword and shield units. Doing damage already, and let's put that ability on now and watch the absolutely devastating firepower of this unit. As you can see, I'm trying to use my hero to turn the backs of the unit in front of me, and you should do that too if your unit is being attacked. Anyway, the last thing I want to show you, nice and easy, if you press the 1 key, you'll target an area, just like any other ranged unit. Whether other archers or crossbows will do the same thing. Gunners have a different one where they fire in a certain direction. You'll be familiar with that if you've played anything of this game at all. Let's see how they do in melee. The obvious problem with them is that they have very little hit points, as we discussed earlier, and they just tend to get absolutely shredded. The advantage that they have, the only advantage that they have in melee, is that there are a lot of them. You know, they're outperformed by serfs. No surprise there for anybody. Let's move on to our next segment. And here we go. So, in our first clip today, we're going to bring up the archers, the Demesne Crossbowmen, and we're going to put them in a nice comfortable position on some stairs where they can all see, and use our friendly troops with the berserkers and pike militia here to cover ourselves. And as you can see, these are palace guard that we're shooting at. When I was playing this, I figured that treb was a little off centre, and you know, they're a cheap unit, so I'm just going to stay here and continue to fire. Unfortunately, the last treb shot landed a bit funny and hit the unit. So as you can see, in this sort of situation, the Demesne Crossbowmen are doing absolutely fine. You can see the damage difference on the serfs there, so they're doing about 11 or 1200, and on the palace guard they were doing about 1000, and that's the difference in the armour level of them. The serfs, of course, also get the damage reduction from ranged for having a shield. And as the battle turns on, see, here we go. Oh, there's the palace guard there. You can see 600 or 700 damage a shot. A little bit less than I mentioned before, but when you get those critical hits or shoot people in the back, they do a lot more damage. We've run out of ammo, back to the supply point. Let's look at another clip. So here we are in Healing Ford. I think that's how you say it. Maybe that's the translation. But we notice that these stalwarts are moving up, and they're going to take the majority of the incoming fire. So we move in here, we bring our Demesne crossbows up, suddenly cavalry. But that's not a problem for these Demesne crossbows, because even though they're not doing a lot of individual damage, no, they're doing between, well, up to 1500 when they get the criticals, but between 500 and 1000 usually. You can see that in these sort of situations, the unit performs relatively well. Let's move on to another clip. And here we go. In our very last clip today, we're going to try and get some crossbows in nice and close. I thought at this point, we can bring them in nice and close because we've got some melee troops, berserkers, condos and things like that. And there's me looking at whatever that giant abomination in the middle of the map is. It was a horse at some stage, I think. But anyway, we're here to demonstrate the crossbows. Now here I go, try and keep these people off my unit. I don't succeed because I get locked down with poleaxe, and then I get picked up and killed by a maul. But when you're in close like this, and you've got good cover from your friendly units and friendly heroes and your own hero, watch this unit just absolutely go to town. Now the thing about this clip is I want you to notice the difference in the damage numbers. There's a very wide number of variety of damage numbers in there. Even some of those criticals are only doing 300 or 400 damage. And that's the difference between targeting particularly a hero with heavy armor, who are very heavily armored, and hitting the lightly armored heroes, the heavy units and the light units. And that's really important to remember when you use this unit. Keep an eye on that. Right, and we'll skip forward. We're dead, we're back alive, we brought the same crossbowman unit in. We're going to bring them up here to support our team as they defend against this push up the left tower. Now again, short ranged unit, you want to get them in nice and close, knock down as many shields as you can. Shouldn't have gone all the way through that unit, that was a mistake, but I managed to live through it. And if you can get the unit to just sit around behind your enemy line, behind your friendly lines, and just continue to pour fire in. You know, it's not a hard unit to use. Think of it like muskets, although with a much higher rate of fire and a much lower damage. But they're also much more accurate as well than the, say, iron cap muskets. And even against these stalwarts, they're putting in reasonable damage. Can you see again how they absolutely rip through their ammunition? They're down to half already. And just as this push gets completely thrown back, our unit continues to apply some damage all the way through. They're nice and close. And again, did you see the wide variety of damage numbers as they hit the different types of unit? That's certainly one of the most important things to remember with this unit. And there we have it, boys and girls. I hope you've learned something new about the Demesne Crossbowmen. They're only 140 leadership, so you're really not losing anything by giving them a go and taking them into battle. Their maximum level being only 14, you should have them up to elite status in no time. Maybe you'll get some great doctrines along the way. Don't forget, if you're new to the game and you need some of the starter sets and things like that, have a look at this down the bottom here. That's my code for the My.Games web store. I've got a link for that in the video description. So if you play on the My.Games server and you want any of these beautiful attires across the bottom of the screen, and also we've got a few starter packs with, silver, bronze, materials, and hero XP boosts and things like that. Please go to the My.Games store, use my code. It does help the channel and helps me produce more of these videos. I hope you learned something new, or you just enjoyed the video. Thanks for coming to my channel.